Good morning, I'm the Reverend Emily Young, and this is the sermon for Sunday, the 26th of September, based on the reading from Esther chapter 7, verses 1 to 6, 9 to 10, and 9, 20 to 22. Well, you've heard about the biggest and most eventful night of my life. The night when I managed to bring down a dangerous rival, one who wanted to destroy my people and save us all at the same time. This is my story. My family, or at least all that are left of it, my cousin and I, were part of a minority community living in a foreign land. We looked different, sounded different, ate different food and worshipped different gods. Mostly the empire itself tried to include people from all the different tribes and groups of its conquered lands in its civil service. But sometimes things don't work out as you expect. Before I was a queen, I won a beauty pageant. The king's eunuchs organised a beauty pageant. It included cosmetic treatments and good food. But once you were in the palace, there was no leaving. You were part of the harem forever. It happened because Queen Vashti, in the middle of hosting a banquet for the women of the court, refused to go and be displayed in front of the king and all his drunken courtiers. She protected herself from them in the short term, but offended by her independence, they created a reason to disgrace her and take her crown from her. These poor, fragile men were scared that if the queen was allowed to ever refuse her husband, all the women of the empire could follow suit, and they would rule the men might lose their power and control, and so legislated that they could rule their households. The king was drunk and hurt by Vashti, and agreed to what his advisors said. But in the cold light of day, he remembered Vashti and regretted his impulsive actions of the night before. But it was too late, the damage was done. And so it was to cheer him up that his eunuchs planted the idea of a beauty contest with him. My cousin, the nephew and son of court officials brought here from our home country, inherited a minor role at the gate of the king's court. But no one knew we were related. When he saw the young women being brought to the palace for the beauty contest, he saw an opportunity and got me included. During the 12 months of beauty treatments, I got to know the eunuch who was managing the contest well. He liked me and gave me as much help as he could. So when the time came to meet the king, I asked him to choose what I took to the king. And I was successful. I became the new queen in Vashti's place. During this time, my cousin Mordecai heard of a plot between two of the king's eunuchs, his closest servants, to kill him. He reported it. They were found to be guilty and hanged. But rather than advancing Mordecai's career, it advanced the position of Haman the Agagite, the old adversaries of King Saul. Haman was highly ambitious, a vain man, with a temper as short as the king's, but perhaps even more dangerous because he would follow his plans through. Haman wanted everyone to bow down to him. Newly appointed to his office, he was enjoying all the trappings of power. But for whatever reason, religion, dislike, or even just wanting to pick a fight over a missed preferment or promotion, Mordecai refused to join in. He was known to be a Jew, and that was all the excuse Haman needed, not just to get back at Mordecai, but to murder and eliminate us all. The king, as we've already seen, has form for making rash decisions. He agrees and sends out an irreversible decree across the whole of the known world. Mordecai gets word to me that I have to clear up his mess for him and find some way to save our people, including myself. I request a 3-day fast, time to pray, plan, and prepare. Like Moses, I risked death and went to see the king, but I did not ask him to let my people go. Not yet. I risked the death of approaching the king unrequested. I dressed in my royal robes to ask him and Haman to a feast. The king received me. I made my request. Haman is flattered to be included. They come. I deferred my request and asked them to a second banquet. In the meantime, Haman is having gallows built for Mordecai. And in a twist of fate, or in an act of God, the king is reminded that Mordecai saved his life and decides to honour him. When Haman is asked how the king should honour someone, he assumes the king is asking how to honour him and ends up honouring Mordecai for the king. At the second feast, I make my request. They are well fed and watered. I ask the king to save me and my people. I flatter his ego. He doesn't want me, his property, taken from him by someone else. I announce that the person who tries to steal his property is Haman. The king is furious, and in desperation Haman throws himself at me, asking my mercy. And the king sees him and assumes he is assaulting his queen. The king hangs him on the gallows Haman built for Mordecai. I saved my people and myself, and got our old enemy destroyed in the process. I acted to save God's people. My faith, though not known in the court, forced me to act for the good of all my people. My story is told because even when God is silent, God is at work in unexpected people. Did you expect it to be a beauty queen who became the most powerful person at court? I got my cousin his promotion too. Did you expect a woman to be the one like Moses who saves her people? Or even be like a future king from the line of David, who will say to the ruler of this world, "Let my people go," and risk and lose his life to do it, and gain it again after a 3-day death fast? Did you expect God's voice and God's call to be heard in the words of a family member? God calls the unexpected in unexpected ways to live out their faith in what they say and in what they do, in the places where they live and work.